Hi, how are you?
Good.
We'll just have a quick chat.
Okay.
Thanks for coming out today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Sure, tell us your story.
So my name is Karla. I'm from a town between Honduras and Nicaragua. So I was a kid raised between borders, during after the Civil War. So I was raised there. My grandparents were coffee farmers, and I went to school there, and I came here to the U.S. 12 years ago, and started a family, started a business, CRU Chocolate, and we're making chocolate by the Sacramento area. So we bring cacao from Central America and make craft chocolate, as they call it.
So what made you want to start a chocolate company?
It was a lot of soul searching. It was really hard. I'm the first one in my family to ever had a job. Everybody's like come from farming. So it was very hard for me to adapt to the 8 to 5 or 9 to schedule. So I just needed to have my own hours. I just couldn't understand having a
I know what
tied
that's
to a
like.
clock.
I always say I kept getting fired from all my jobs, so I knew I had to start my own company.
I am unhireable. One that sorry, you're overqualified.
Right.
So it was really hard to adapt in that. So,
But why chocolate?
chocolate we always, it's been a big part of the Honduran, Nicaraguan culture as a drink. We started with coffee, actually. I really, got trained to cup coffees and do all that. But there is something about that culture of chocolate that really pulled me in.
What is it about the culture of chocolate?
What fascinates me about the culture, of the cacao culture that we have in Central America is that it's not seen. It's such a big part of what we are, what we have been for 4,000 years, but it's never seen. Like, you don't think of Central America as a chocolate.
Right.
You think France or Belgium when people say chocolate. But it is the origins of chocolate. It was the Mayan people that figured out how to, the whole process of cultivation, how to ferment dry, how to roast, how to grind, how to do all that. And you can, if you really pay attention to the culture, you can see how influenced we are by it. All the indigenous stories of it, like how we see, the creation stories, they all are related with chocolate and corn. So
you produce really nice specialty chocolates, craft chocolates. So what is your sort of aesthetic? Like, what do you want the chocolate? How do you want the chocolate to taste?
I like bold flavors. I feel like chocolate needs to have that complexity of flavors. It has to be strong. It has to represent where it comes from. And I also want to, would like to present chocolate in a way that is not, you play with textures. We think chocolate has to be smooth and it melts in your mouth. We had this sexualizing marketing with chocolate that creates this
very sensual.
with that, which whatever, if people like that, but that doesn't mean that chocolate with texture shouldn't be appreciated. So and consider chocolate as a whole food, not just as a
treat.
Not as a treat. Yeah, exactly, or something like you indulge. It's like it's a nutritious food. It's about 20% protein. It has a lot of antioxidants. So that's what we see in our flavor, as flavors, like seeing them more as foods. Something that is an element to me of empowerment. Nothing that you should feel guilty about it. So
that's so interesting, because sometimes in coffee we think about how coffee's not nutritious. It doesn't really have calories and stuff unless you add something.
Yeah.
So I never thought of chocolate in quite that way before, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and actually, like, the adding of milk to chocolate was done during the war. People was looking for ways you can pack more calories. Because it was this whole how to eat thing, and it started like that.
Right.
But chocolate in itself is a very nutritious. But but with coffee, it's like there is nothing wrong with indulging, and appreciate having a drink that just brings you pleasure, like tea and coffee.
Right. You're a engineer by training. How do you think that background affects the way that you approach chocolate? making chocolate?
Yeah, I feel like it was actually farming that made me an engineering, because I always saw my grandmother, like, she became a widow and she had, like, 4 kids and had like 5 farms to run. I was basically, raised by her, and I saw a lot of, like, she didn't know how to drive. And then when a machine broke, when the pulper broke, oh my God, like the sky falls down, and like, and then you have to go find this guy, and he's always drunk, and then so I always felt this, like, feeling like she's so, she has everything, but you're always depending because of a machine on somebody else.
Right.
So I always grew up with this sense of, like, I wanted to, like, get the hang out of machines. Like, I did not want it to be controlled by somebody else knowing a machinery.
Right.
So, and also I choose industrial engineer as a way to add value to crops, agricultural crops, because I thought, like, I saw my grandmother, she brings the green coffee, to beneficio, and then somebody else processes it, and that's it. You don't see anything else. And so I think it came out of that. So it was more farming making me into engineering.
Right.
And once you had the knowledge of engineers, so processes become, like, kind of like easy. Like, you feel like, okay, that's what you need to do. Yeah. So.
Right. What do you think is easier, coffee or chocolate? Or what's harder, I should say?
I feel like coffee has so much science, and you guys have done so much work on it, that is a little intimidated. But from the chocolate perspective, it's like, okay,
there's a lot of work still to do.
It's still to do, and it's still, we haven't had that much, of research and science invested on it, like at the craft level, right? I'm sure big corporations have. I feel like coffee has a great thing going, which is the barista. And I feel like, the coffee industry and the way it has affected farming would have not happened if it wasn't because of a barista. Like, I see from a farming perspective, perception, I see the baristas as the superheroes. To me, it's like, gosh, you guys, like, you affected the life of millions of people, and I love that.
And the baristas think about it the opposite way. We think of the farmers as the superheroes.
Yeah, which is great. That's the way relationships should
Everyone
be,
should
right?
think of everyone else as a superhero and pay respect. That's right.
Yeah,
that's true.
But we don't have that in chocolate, So I feel like if chocolate, we figured out a way to have a barista, somebody that can be passionate and talk to the consumer about that. But it is hard. You're making chocolate, you're running all this, you're running a business, and then you're the one that has to talk to the consumer. So that's a big disadvantage.
Here's some of your chocolate. It's really, really beautiful. I mean,
thank you.
It seems like with chocolate, the packaging seems extra important.
Yeah. People are very into their packaging. When we started, everything was like brown, It was like the craft bar or like black or brown. So we really wanted to bring the colors of Central America, of the Latino American culture, mostly the something that is very unique to Latin America, which is that blending of reality, surrealism. So that's what we wanted. Like, the Latino art is like very surrealism.
Right.
Because you comes from that tradition, coming from coffee, from cacao and corn, where the plants are alive.
Right.
So we wanted to, like, bring that with it. So yeah, it is very important, and I love design. I think things should look good.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
So you said, so that's a good segue into the drink. So pinol, you were explaining to me when we talked about it before, and I really love this sort of idea of kind of how corn and cacao are kind of like the yin and yang of like Aztec culture of Mesoamerica. Talk about that some.
Yeah. So that like this drink, right? Pinol is so old. I will dare to say that it's like the oldest drink.
Next to water, maybe.
Yeah, next to water and something fermented. Right. I mean, there is records where it's like 4,000 years old. So it has evolved with us as people from Mesoamerican people, like including Mexico, southern Mexico, all the way to Panama, as what I'm familiar with. So the importance of it comes a lot from the stories of the origins of where human comes from. Like Europeans had Christianity. You came from a woman, I guess, from a human. So in Mayan, Aztec, people came from corn. You originated from corn as your father. So your bodies are made out of corn.
Right.
So
you were saying like even the corn plant kind of looks like a person.
Yeah. You have that view in which you imagine like living in a world where you see plants as sentient beings, just like you know, like. So you will start reflecting yourself on them. So you will be attracted to plants that look like that have human
like a human shape, human form.
Yeah. So cacao, you know how it grows. You have that tree, and the fruit grows out of it, which it looks like a head.
Right.
And even Mayan people would like change their heads to look more like pods or like corns, like like corn heads.
Right.
Which it has a thing of appearance, To them, you look good. You look more like the plant. You look more like, like that. But also, they had a very complex knowledge of brain. So you could manipulate somebody's brain, somebody's cranial, so their brain will develop based on what you were born to be.
Right.
So if you were born in the time of being an artist, you need a little help, So plastic surgery is pretty old, So they will like do that for you. So so it comes from that, like those stories, and the blending of the two of them has a lot to do with the opposites, like as corn being a plant that grows on the valley, it needs a lot of sun.
Needs a lot of sun, right?
And cacao, completely different, grows in the jungle and it needs shade, it needs that jungle environment, and how they both look similar. How corn, as once it grows, once you harvest it, is a male energy, while cacao is a female energy, and has a lot to do with the work. Farming, going to a milpa and picking up the corn is a lot of work. So normally males would do that, and going to the cacao and picking it up is more like a female job. So
interesting.
So that too.
There's like a balance and harmony to it.
Exactly. So. And like the highlands, lowlands, how those two complement, and it was a big part of our initiations processes too. Like girls, we had to like learn how to make chocolate, and how to, that was part of like being part of that culture, learning to do that. And then, people would throw out big parties, and then the boys would have to recognize the chocolate of their family.
Really?
So you will have to drink different chocolates and know which one came from your place.
So it's really important. I mean, to say it's an important part of the culture is an understatement.
Yeah, no. So it was very important. It's very meaningful, because you are coming from that idea that is your parents. That's where you came from, and acknowledging that we depend on these plants. Our whole livelihood depends on it, and that we had changed as much as they had changed. And that's when the concept of heirloom comes with where you are selected seeds, and they are allowing you to be selected by them, so the two of you evolve together. So it is very important.
Super important.
And especially that's what we wanted to do, the pinot, because something that I would say like it feels a little hurtful. It's like how we talk about chocolate, and started with my kids. I had 2 kids, and they go to have school lunch, and and I can put a chocolate bar, and their friends will go, "Oh my God, awesome! Your mom is the coolest. You're so lucky. Your mom has a chocolate factory." But if I put a tortilla on their lunch bag,
right,
I would traumatize them. It would be like the worst thing. Like if I put a tortilla in their lunchbox, and it's like, how can we take? Why will we take one thing and crush the other one?
Right.
Like,
the way that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of colonialist history.
Yeah.
Right.
No, and we
the way
see
that it takes things.
Yeah, to just take what works for you.
Right.
So when I started, I always drank pinot, but when started CRU, I was like, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. We're just gonna do pinot. If I just wanna do it because I wanna do it. If it doesn't work out, But I'm just gonna do it just for Christmas, and people like it, So I thought people would think it's weird. They think this, they think that, but I'm just kind of staying, which also is cool.
Well, let's have one. Okay. So, this is pinol. There's different ways to pronounce this, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's all Mesoamerican, which before people say Mesoamerica now, but it used to be like big corn people. Before borders, you will basically divide it by time zones, by what you grew. So all this is the corn people. So we're talking about southern Mexico all the way down, like, Nicaragua, Costa Rica area, Panama. So you have pinol, pinole, pinolillo, tiste, champurrado.
Right. It's like the corn belt kind of thing.
It's a corn belt, yeah,
Right.
corn and cacao belt. So the names are unique to every area, so based on their languages. And,
Right.
and also the drink changes based on what corn you're using, what stage of the corn you pick, and how you process the corn.
But the basic pinol is like chocolate and corn, ground corn?
For us, yeah. So for us, between Honduras and Nicaragua, pinol has cacao and corn and spices. But pinol literally means corn flour, So it might mean something else in other parts of Mexico or other places, yeah.
Got it. And so for you, this is like comfort food. Yeah.
For us, this is like breakfast. This is what you will have for a baby, older people, if you're sick, this is what you have also if you need to like work a lot. It's breakfast, yeah.
Right.
It's like cornflakes.
It's like cornflakes.
Yeah.
That's great. So, you can really taste the chocolate. So right now, what kind of chocolate are you using for this?
So in this one, we use Nicaraguan chocolate. We use a Nicaraguan cacao, and we added cinnamon, allspice, and anise.
But as you were saying, like the spice might vary depending on where you're getting.
Yeah,
right, who's doing it.
Yeah, and a lot of people, like, you can even trace migration patterns based on spices, So,
of course.
So the story of spices is beautiful too. Like,
Yeah.
Like when I see like cinnamon, like, that's India. And like,
Right.
if you really think before, the Spanish and everybody can hear, everybody was going to India. India was the colony of the moment. So they came to the Americas looking for India, and that's why we all are Indians now.
Right. Right.
We're the Indians. But cinnamon is, when it came to this continent, it was well received, and it has been a big part of our culture. So it's a beautiful spice. Yeah.
Right. So it's like a blending of different cultures, but fundamentally like a Central American kind of tradition.
Yeah.
So when I taste this, it's chocolatey.
Yeah.
A lot of people like first thought it's like, oh, it's like a hot chocolate, but then it has more texture. It kind of has the ground corn. Ground corn's not going to dissolve, so it's going to stay, solid. And so to have that texture is really interesting.
Yeah, so the pinol corns are corns that are being selected for pinol. So are corns that won't make a tortilla because they're really dry. They're selected for flour.
I see.
So that's why they're heirlooms. So you won't make a tortilla with this corn.
And this particular corn you're using in this blend right now is what kind of corn?
This one is a purple Peruvian corn.
Purple Peruvian
Yeah,
corn.
which the color is just so beautiful.
Yeah, it kind of makes the drink a little bit purple too.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. But each region uses its own corn, And I thought that was a beautiful thing of being here in California, where I can use, green Oaxacan, purples, blue.
Right.
It's quite nice.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can drink this hot. Some people drink it cold. I think
Yeah.
we'll be offering it both ways.
Yeah.
But it's really delicious. Thank you so much for sharing
Thank
this.
you.
It really means so much to have
Yeah.
you here today and to be able to share. This is a drink that you brought to us and said, this is something that if you like it, could serve in the cafe. And we haven't seen this in other places. But we're happy to introduce it to our folks here.
Yeah, well, thank you for appreciating it and not going gross or weird or all those weird stuff.
Yeah, well,
say.
it's important.
Yeah.
We want to not only respect what you are doing with CRU and everything, but also respect the tradition and where it comes from.
Yeah.
And the people that it comes from. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and something to say is that this is a very alive tradition. I mean, you go and people still drinking it. It's not like you're not presenting any. It's something that is 4,000 years old.
Right.
It's everywhere. We just don't see it. So it's beautiful to see it in a cafe like this, where hopefully people will see it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Karla, thanks so much.
Thank you. Yeah.